The Dark Ages was a period in history we used to think of as stagnant. We got images of plague and ignorance and wars. It was as if the world had come to a standstill. Now we know that's not true. Advances were being made. The table was being set for the great Renaissance to come. If we could visit those Dark Ages, we'd find they weren't so dark at all. In fact, depending on who you met, you might find them quite enlightened.
Long, long ago, a young traveler enjoyed a midday snack beside a highway, when shortly he was joined by an old woman on her way to the next village. Being quite hungry, she asked the traveler for a piece of his bread. The traveler had plenty for them both, but he was selfish and greedy and didn't want to part with his food. Annoyed by her presence, he finally gave her a tiny piece so she would go away. Full of gratitude, the woman offered the man anything in her pack as payment for his kindness. The traveler was amazed to find, among the many trinkets and pieces of cloth, a lustrous, brilliant ruby, worth enough for the man to live comfortably for the rest of his days in a fine house with servants. The traveler immediately asked for the ruby as his payment, and to his complete astonishment, the woman smiled and said, without hesitating, "It is yours." The traveler could barely contain his joy at his good fortune. Often he stopped on the road to admire the ruby, to assure himself that he was not dreaming. But he soon became troubled with questions. Why did the old woman so easily give him something so valuable? And why was he so stingy with something so worthless? Was she out of her senses? The old woman seemed perfectly sane. And yet these questions burned into his heart. And then the traveler set off to find her so that she could soothe the torment within him. When the traveler finally caught up with the woman, he held out the ruby to her and said, "I want to give this back to you. I give it back in the hope that you can give me something much more precious." "What do I have that is more valuable than that?" the woman asked. And the man replied, "I want what you have in your heart that lets you give me this ruby in the first place. For that is the most valuable thing you possess."